The Empire's on the run.
800
Alex Jones
259 9231. I'll give the number out when we come back.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.
You've heard about the essential qualities of iodine when it comes to your well-being, and you've read the opinions of top experts regarding this good member of the halogen family. Still, reports indicate that iodine is absent in sufficient amounts from the daily lives of countless people worldwide. Now, our extra-strength new nascent iodine formula is here, Survival Shield X2, leading the way into the next generation of super high-quality nascent iodine. InfoWars Life Survival Shield X2 is derived from 200+ million-year-old salt solutions found more than 7,000 feet below the Earth's surface. The result is a unique nascent iodine that is both concentrated and free of unwanted additives, genetically modified ingredients, and completely vegan. We even pre-screen our Survival Shield X2 iodine for radiation. Pure, clean, and sourced from deep within the Earth, X2 nascent iodine is available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or call 1-888-253-3139.
General, what do you think about the FBI saying that there's a terror alert on Monday about a potential Fort Hood situation?
The police are shoving people, shoving Alex, shoving the crowd.
Here we go, folks. I'm being assaulted.
Whether it's the radio show, the news websites, documentary films, or the nightly news, InfoWars is the tip of the spear.
Is this another false flag stage attack to take our civil liberties and put more homeland security while sticking their hands down on the pants on the streets?
It's up to us to set brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere. And that's what PrisonPlanet.tv is designed to do.
You watch, the Assad regime is going to be blamed or accused of using chemical weapons against the so-called rebels.
What we see now is a war against reality. It's a war against the truth.
It's more vital than ever that supporters of freedom become members of PrisonPlanet.tv and share their membership with up to 11 friends and family. Visit InfoWarsNews.com today. Become a member, share your membership, and help take the InfoWar to the next level.
Aligns himself with the truth, and it's time for you to choose a side. You're listening to Alex Jones.
Well, we'll know soon if Scotland's voting to leave the UK, the United Kingdom. Some of the headlines up on Infowars.com. Sotloff, one of the beheaded journalists, spokesman, says Obama administration bullied and hectored family, shot us down at every opportunity. Then we have the viral hashtag we're sending out, hashtag declassify, campaign to reveal the 28 censored pages of the 9/11 Commission report. Toll-free number to join us to talk to our guest with foreign policy or geopolitical questions. Robert David Steele is our guest, bigbatusa.org or Phi Beta Iota.net. And he is the author of Open Source Everything. We're going to talk about some of that in a moment and then go to your phone calls. But what do you and the other thinkers that you read and see, is there a consensus? Because, I mean, there's a consensus. We see now there's a decline of the whole world, really, except for maybe some areas of Asia, a accelerated moral decline, a police state acceleration, an elite that just thinks they can continue to just buy more armored vehicles, more drones, more NSA spying, more hidden microphones, more Stingray systems, stealing your data, more. I mean, you're talking about how there's no real human intelligence in the CIA, except domestically. My dad just retired, but he and all the doctors where he worked got visited by Homeland Security, and they said, like 2 years ago, we want you to spy on your patients. And they said, what, like terrorists? People that said, no, just, everybody. Tell us what they're thinking. Come to monthly meetings with Homeland Security. We can even get you a little card, and if you work enough for us, give you some money. They were like trying to turn doctors into like spy informants. And a lot of them, watch 24 or something, think it's really cool. But most of them knew that it was like going to work for Ceausescu or something. And then you learn about clergy response teams and FBI InfraGard. And I mean, I personally have to deal with well-known FBI informants, literally. And I'm thinking about doing a report on this, literally following me around and then letting me know they are. And just doing all sorts of weird stuff just because I'm on air saying I think we should not have warrantless wiretapping. I mean, it's just, and then it's just so crazy to watch this decline. It's scary. And I don't want to leave the U.S. with my family. There's really nowhere to go. I mean, it's almost like wringing of hands here.
Well, let me give you the good news and the bad news. The bad news is you're absolutely right. We've created a national security state, and Homeland Security and the NSA with its mass surveillance, they're out of control. The good news is it's an employment program for white guys that can't get jobs anywhere else. Okay. And what you really have, because I mean, I'm part of that community. I've been part of that community. I still care for that community. My wife still works for that community. And the bottom line is 95% of these people are good people trapped in a bad system. What this is all about is spending money, because Congress gets a 5% kickback, and nobody really cares whether Homeland Security, the NSA are effective or not. They're not. In fact, almost virtually everything that's happened in the United States has been a false flag event. It has not been a real event, and NSA has not prevented a single terrorist incident, and neither has Homeland Security. So the good news is this is really the U.S. government budget out of control, serving special interests and giving Congress a 5% kickback. It's not actually the Orwellian state. It's more of a perversion of the Orwellian state.
So it's like a bunch of country club folks and others just running around with all this high-tech power. And it's basically just a way to continue the gravy train rolling. Because, I mean, sure, the Nazis had a security state, but they were really going around grabbing people and were somewhat organized.
I got to give people credit, because, yes, they will assassinate you and they will lock you up without due process. And there are some pretty bad things that are happening, but it's a very, very small, tiny percentage. I remember Madeleine Albright's memoir. She talked about how as Secretary of State, she was a gerbil on a wheel. So just think of these people as 10 million gerbils on wheels.
Yeah.
You've got an idea of how threatening they actually are to the Constitution.
Well, my problem is that...
Well, you are another case entirely.
Sure. They definitely don't like me. They hire, though, these really obviously sociopathic, psychopathic, borderline personality disorder, narcissist types who go around doing their dirty work. And, it's usually their operatives, not even agents or people. And then you'll find people with 2 or 3 degrees and a big combat resume that run 8 miles every morning and are super moral and, volunteer at the church. And they're just literally at a cubicle. And then you'll just have whoever's psychopathic just running around on the streets, doing whatever they want. I mean, I had family. Obviously, the CIA recruits a lot out of Texas, who just, before they died were just point blank that, they were taken out of the Army, put in black ops teams, and went around assassinating people inside the U.S. And you start learning how pervasive all this is. So when you say, yeah, they lock people up, they have rendition, they kill people, it is a very small percentage. But it's still, when you're talking about 10 million people, that small percentage is a pretty big, multi-brigade level hit team operation.
You're absolutely right. And in fact, we should talk about Boston Breaks and the murder of that journalist.
Let's talk about that and talk about false flags, sir.
All right. Well, from where I sit, both the school in Connecticut and the Boston bombing were false flag operations. The school in Connecticut had been closed for 4 years. There were no students, no teachers, no parent-teacher association. The paramedics were not allowed into the school. From where I sit, that was a complete false flag. It was a drill. And we've already, not we, but others have exposed the actors that were involved, the financial relations with the families that were allegedly victimized, who had their homes bought and who were then given exit paths. All of that is on the record, but you don't see the media covering that. Boston bombing, for me, the truth teller was when the rabbis and the priests rushed to comfort the wounded, and they were not allowed to get near any of the wounded. That in intelligence we call an indicator. And then you add to that the fact that there were no wounded people being taken to the hospitals. And finally, you add to that the big to-do about the amputee. He turns out to be a hired actor for a company that specializes at putting amputees into battlefield simulations. False flag. Boston was a practice attempt to lock down an entire city.
We actually had our reporters on the ground. We got death threatened pretty seriously over that. And that's when a lot of heat got turned on against this operation. They got really upset. And they even had Secret Service, even though Obama wasn't there, going and telling our reporters on national news. It ended up getting televised, don't ask your question. And they told the reporters, don't look at this man's photos. Well, what we had was what appeared to be Kraft International, Navy SEAL sheep dipped, even wearing the Punisher hats and the uniform. And some of the guys we identified in other photos of Kraft people, we're not saying they were involved, because they were all looking around like they didn't know what was happening. They all had black backpacks, it looked like, to create a bunch of decoys. Again, I'm not saying they were even involved. And then we had all this other stuff added to it. And the brothers saying, we didn't do it. They're chased down. They're killed. Lock down the city. Try to hunt him down. He pleads not guilty. They start killing their friends. I mean, let's elaborate on why you're saying false flag, because...
well, if you go to Phi Beta Iota and you look up Boston bombing, you'll get to all of the coverage that we've had. And when I say we, I'm a curator and I keep a hands-off distance, but I've got over 80 contributing editors, and some of them are quite extraordinary. But if you look up Boston bombing at Phi Beta Iota, you'll get everything. But if you go back to the actual bomb, it was a theatrical device. You don't buy gunpowder at a fireworks store to create a bomb. It just is not done. I had my explosive ordnance people look at this. Everybody laughed at this. This was school kid stuff. There was no bomb. There were no injuries. This was a false flag. And now we're starting to see 9/11 unravel. And Richard Gage has gotten on C-SPAN. And basically, the American public is starting to wake up. And all of these little things that they could have gotten away with are now starting to collapse because of the internet, because of guys like you, because of people like me and my contributing editors. And so I think we're coming to the end of the road here. I do believe, I really want to stress this, I think 95% of the people in the U.S. government are good people trapped in a bad system. But the last 5% are doing some evil, pathologically sick things, including murdering U.S. citizens. And that's the part that I'm starting to see some signs of encouragement. For example, and this is my last comment, the court has just finally refused to accept Attorney General assurances about secret state documents. And for the first time in modern history, the court is saying to the executive, you have to show us these secret documents. We will not let you make claims without showing us the documents. I believe the tide is turning legally against government misbehavior.
Wow, I got to tell you, we've got to have you back for a full hour, sir, just on false flags and also on your book. We're going to get into your book in a moment and take some calls. But look at how suddenly the head of Kraft International, the Navy SEAL, gets killed right after the Boston bombings at a shooting range and all of this. And again, that's a key part of the investigation, is all these Kraft guys out there who I never said were involved. There were clearly lots of decoy groups so that no one could catch whoever really detonated the simulant, which I showed to bomb experts, and they said, look, it just poofs. There's nothing even there. Exactly. Kind of like the underwear bomber was obviously drugged, brought on the plane. Our witnesses saw it, confirmed a month and a half later by two lawyers, Mr. and Mrs. Haskell. And it's just, how do they think they'll get away with something this big and this obvious?
Look, I got to tell you, having been a spy for a long time and having worked in that environment, it is an environment characterized by being out of touch with reality. They're out of touch with real people. They're out of touch. Let me give you a simple example. Out of the 1,400 professors of Middle Eastern studies in the United States of America, CIA talks to maybe 14. And those 14 are the ones that are U.S. citizens with secret clearances. Okay, so they have,